Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. Joining me today, as ever, we've got Chris Hamill and Michael McCubbin. Welcome aboard. Word of warning, we are slightly hungover even after last night's Halloween party, so if we're not quite our effervescent self, you can blame it on 2-for-1 cocktails.
Got a bit of blood in your beard.
I've got a bit of blood in my beard. It's really difficult to get off.
Yeah, really difficult.
Really giving a good scrub. But anyway, let's get straight in to Tamish Bahal's question, who has asked which teams have looked the most impressive this season with a new manager. But before we get stuck into that, just a quick reminder to subscribe to Euro Football Daily and hit that notification bell to never miss a video. But McCubbs, logically, there's only really one place to start. We've got to go to Serie A and we've got to talk about Inter Milan.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't think this is a massive surprise that Inter have been really good at the start of the season. Like, we all expected Antonio Conte to go there and, be able to fix things fairly well. Like, we saw him do it at Chelsea. Obviously, a great record at Juve before that. But I think, still very commendable considering, betting in new signings, like Barella and Sensi, both very talented players and very good signings, but to bed them in so it is really impressive. Obviously, Lukaku as well.
It's really impressive how long you've been holding that cough. Go on, let it out. Yeah, buddy.
Cheers, thanks for the support there.
Not a lot needed fixing though, did it? Because Spalletti got off to a good start last season as well. There were some kind of finishing touches that we needed into that Conte has brought, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. It wasn't like, obviously there's a lot of experience in that squad already. There is a lot of talent in that squad. And yeah, like last season, I was tipping Inter to be doing this season what they were doing last season.
Yeah.
But clearly, Spalletti wasn't quite the right fit. The whole Icardi situation was a massive hindrance, and that's a massive thing as well. Like, I genuinely just didn't know what the alternative to Icardi was going to be. Like, it was so over-reliant on him for goals.
I say finishing touches, but they needed to replace one of their best strikers of the modern era. So sure.
But for example, like Lautaro Martinez last season looked very promising. Looked like a really well-rounded forward. But did he look like he could replace Icardi? Probably not. Lukaku coming in this summer has helped things, but Lautaro Martinez obviously has exploded as well. He's like putting up over 5 shots a game, which is outstanding.
Linked with Barcelona this morning.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, well, as a Luis Suarez replacement.
Yeah, I mean,
his numbers do look superstar, don't they?
They're like that. I would like. Yeah, that would be really interesting actually. But and obviously Lukaku's been great as well. But yeah, I mean, it's weird to think because like obviously Inter Milan have been a proper like sleeping giant. They've not finished higher than 4th, I think, since 2011. So it just goes to show just how big an impact Conte is having at the moment. Obviously, top for expected points in Serie A as well. So yeah, it's just I'm just really hoping that they can kind of keep this kind of form up.
Yeah,
I think they will. Like they've adapted to Conte's system so well, and obviously Conte's style of football is just so. It's just so made for Serie A.
Exactly, I think it works. It fits like a glove, really. And his managerial record is so impressive. I think when he's managed teams, obviously he hasn't done. This doesn't work in the last 5 years because he's had a break being Italy manager, but he's won league titles in 4 of the last 5 years. Really impressive manager.
The only black mark on his record, the only blemish is European football. I think his best is a quarter-final right in the Champions League, which doesn't really match up to the sort of standard we come to expect of him, given that domestic dominance. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the opening weeks of what he does at a football club.
Man.
Do you think he just puts a fucking rocket up everywhere?
He does, like you see
because the results are instantaneous.
Yeah, and he's just so charismatic as well. Like you see him on the touchline, the fans have instantly took it to him. Like the players, every time they score, like there's like incredible celebrations. The San Siro has come back alive. And he also gets a lot of credit for exactly. They get a lot of credit from the performances like Brozovic, Martinez, Lukaku, players that you'd expect. But he's also sort of Kendraver's playing as a right wing back, playing really well. Asamoah's played really well on the left. His defence obviously looks superb, and it's just a really exciting time to be an Inter fan. And I hope they'll keep this challenge going because Juventus have looked pretty shaky, at least domestically so far. Scraping wins against sort of lower tier opposition.
Now's the time to strike, isn't it? Going from like a defensive, compact side under Allegri to a more attack-minded side under Maurizio Sarri, and Inter just have a settled team, which I don't think was the case last year. So after that promising start, I think they only won 5 of the subsequent 11 games under Spalletti.
Like sort of
it was a really
January,
patchy period, wasn't it? And he was kind of tinkering with the side, and you saw people like Nainggolan, João Mario, Who's the really old dude from Fiorentina, the playmaker? His name Vallejo.
Oh, Vallejo, yeah.
He was kind of like in and out the side as well, and you were like, is that the spine of a champion?
Wings of Perisic and Condreva, wasn't it?
Like a team that was competing for the Serie A? Perhaps not. And now you look at it, like you said, and they've got like Barella, who can do everything. Brozovic, who's played every single minute, and his numbers are insane. And Lautaro Martinez is almost taking like Romelu Lukaku can afford to take 2.5 shots, which is not a lot per night, when Martinez is taking almost 6.
And he's bullying defenders as well. Like, players can't get near him physically, Lukaku. Yeah. He just looks like a boy playing against, a man playing against boys at times in that league. But Chris, you are bringing to the table someone slightly different, a team that maybe people wouldn't have expected so far.
Yeah.
They would definitely expect Inter Milan.
I mean, in past weeks, I spoke about Inter Milan. I've spoke about Gladbach, spoiler alert, that's who you're going to talk about. So we had to do a little bit of digging, didn't we, to find someone that I've not rambled on about. So it's Villarreal, which is unfortunate timing because they lost last night. And I was watching the highlights against Eibar this morning, and we'll talk about that in a second because it was a deserved loss. They missed some big chances, Chukwueze in particular, from that lovely ball from, I think it was...
Was it Akambi?
Akambi, yeah. That great outside of the boot, like whipped across from the left-hand side. But all in all, I mean, Villarreal's goalkeeper was outstanding, and Eibar deserved the points. And I'm slightly cheating here, as Javier Calleja was appointed Villarreal boss at the end of January 2019.
Yes,
and he has long-standing ties with the club. He's a former midfielder. I think he played there between 1999 and 2006. He worked at the academy, so he is really a Villarreal man. He actually had a spell in charge of the first team between September 2017 and December 2018, and his record was patchy there. But they've gone through tumultuous times in the modern era. I mean, a little bit more stable now, but kind of staved off relegation in seasons gone by, haven't they? You only had a win percentage of 38%, which isn't like overwhelmingly bad, but it was enough to get him the boot. So he was fired actually when they were in 17th last term and reinstated after a month. It was a little bit like a Jardim situation at Monaco, where there was clearly just disjointed thinking between the board, the management, the coaches. It was a little bit unsettled, shall we say, behind the scenes, and that's probably being generous. They went winless this season in their first 3 league games, which included a 4-4 draw with Granada, one of the standout games in the opening exchanges of the season, but have won 5 of their 8 since, and Santi Cazorla's been creating like 3 to 4 chances a game from central midfield. He's an absolute don. The little magician is back at it. I think they've scored 16 goals as well in their last 8 games, and that's by and large down to the form of Gerard Moreno, who
awesome.
I mentioned on the podcast like 2-3 weeks into the season, because just looked at some numbers from individuals in La Liga, particularly forwards, and it was just like, wow, like this guy's numbers have spiked. Where has he come from? He scored a great goal last night against Eibar.
Cheeky, wasn't it?
Expected goals only gave it like a rating of 0.53, but what expected goals didn't take into account there was the fact that he had to dink it over the goalkeeper and then score. It was absolutely fantastic. 8 goals and 2 assists in 11 league games so far. And his per 90 numbers look a bit like this: 3.2 shots, 2.5 key passes, which is, he's not just being a bit of like a fox in the box. He's creating a healthy amount for his teammates too. 1.6 dribbles, and expected goals and assist value of 0.92. That's up there with like Mo Salah at the moment, just to give you some context. And shout out to Carl Toko Akambi. You very graciously remembered his name for me a minute ago. 5 goals, 2 assists in 11 games, over 4 shots a game. Shot location might be a bit suspect at times, but an expected goals and assist value of 1.07. So he has just been a force this season. Was he quite promising at the end of last season?
He was linked with a move abroad at one stage, but then
Where
stayed
did he
put.
come from? I've
can't
spoke
remember.
about him before. I think he might have come from Angers.
Okay.
However,
that makes sense, actually.
That could be completely wrong.
I know
by
that
the
Gerard
way.
Moreno was at Espanyol, and I think joined the year before last, I think.
That could be completely wrong. But Chukwueze, he's a youngster who we've had an eye on for a little while, and he's kind of coming good as well. 2 goals, 1 assist. a very able kind of deputy in the final third. And Anguissa, who arrived from Fulham, 4.6 tackles, interceptions, 2.7 dribbles, 40 passes a game, 85% pass accuracy. These are the sort of numbers that
we were expecting.
Yeah. And we thought he was going to... Is it Fulham or
It was
Brighton?
Fulham.
Yeah.
It was Fulham, yeah. Fulham, sorry. Yeah, they were the sort of numbers that convinced Fulham to part ways with a decent bit of cash, actually, buying him from Marseille, right? Yeah. So, I mean, he's a very astute signing, and they've got some experience in there to go with this kind of youthful exuberance. Cazorla's 34, Raul Albiol's 34 as well, of course, arriving from Napoli, where he was just completing like an insane 10 long balls per 90.
He's
like
awesome player.
the top 10 was like 9 goalkeepers, and then
Raul
Albiol at the very end. Abora arriving from Leicester, didn't have the best time of it there, did he? But a very cultured midfielder, a very steady presence in the centre of the park. And some really promising youth like Pau Torres, and Geese was only 23, so despite that little blip in the Premier League, I don't think it's going to cost him. I think he probably will move to a bigger club at some point. And left back Quintia. I think he's only 23 as well. His numbers looked pretty solid. I don't know much about him, but yeah, Villarreal, mate. And I've heard it's just a bloody lovely city.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think
I thought it was just like a little industrial town, but maybe
But
not.
like really scenic apparently.
Yeah,
And then,
okay, fair.
like Perez was like, I think one of the reasons he went there, like post Arsenal, was because it was just like there's parts of it that were just beautiful. And also,
fair
I
play.
think this.
I mean, it's near the coast, isn't it?
I think it's a really small place, and it's like when the football was on, it's like a third of the city's population going there. Yeah, it's class.
Let's book a trip, a Continental Club trip, Continental Club abroad. I like
That'd
it.
be nice.
I am bringing to the table Borussia Mönchengladbach. I mean, I know we've talked about them in previous big match previews, but we couldn't really avoid it on this topic. Marco Rose obviously came in, really impressive time at Leipzig. He was actually a player under Klopp at Mainz, and then went to Lokomotiv Leipzig. The Red Bull project spotted him there, went to RB Salzburg, swept all before him, 2 league titles in a row. I think they won a cup, only lost 10 of his 114 games in charge. Phenomenal record.
That is mad, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
picked out
ridiculous.
and got them to a Europa League semi-final as well. So it wasn't just doing it in the Austrian Bundesliga. Went to Gladbach, and they've been absolutely awesome at the start of this campaign. But it wasn't a total surprise because they finished 5th last year, and they really did have sort of a top 3 finish in their grasp. Dieter Hecking, exactly.
With the old eyebrows.
The Badger. They only won 3 of their last 11, so that meant they missed out by 3 points, which was pretty bleak. But started incredibly well this campaign. He's got Marcus Thuram playing exceptionally well. I think he's now got 4 in his last 5 in the Bundesliga.
Wow.
Playing up top with Alisson player who's got 4 goals, 4 assists in pretty, outstanding all-round displays. Florian Niehaus plays really well. Christoph Kramer in midfield. Dennis Zakaria deserves a shout out.
Yeah,
and they're just like, the last time they were top for 2 game weeks in a row, they went on to win the league. I'm not suggesting they necessarily will this year, but they've now been top for 3. Which is pretty impressive, to be fair. And they actually haven't won a league title.
Yeah.
When was that league title?
I was
that
last.
back in
It
the
was
70s,
77, I think.
Yeah.
And they also reached a European Cup final, but they haven't had the best of time of it trophy-wise. I don't think they've won a trophy since about '95. So it'd be really exciting to see them in the mix this year. Young team, really exciting play, fast counter-attacking football, bit like RB Salzburg obviously this year. RB Salzburg keep churning out fantastic coaches like Svadi Hutter as well.
Do you think it'd annoy him that he didn't win? He didn't lose under 10 games.
I know what you mean, just to have that,
Yeah.
on his resume.
He lost under 10 games. Now it's like I lost 10 games.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that for like 5
Doesn't have
minutes.
quite the same ring, does it? Yeah.
No.
But I think their performances in the big games so far have been pretty impressive. They lost to Leipzig. That was their only defeat so far. They played Frankfurt last weekend, who obviously not the same prospect as last year with that Haller and
still
Jovic
good,
and
man.
Ante Rebic. They're still a good side. I think they're only 3 points off about the top 4. I think they're about 8th, and they beat them 4-2 quite comfortably, with Marcus Thuram scoring, Breland Bowler with a nice assist as well. So I think times are looking up for Gladbach fans. I would be very surprised if they finished in the top 2, but I mean, a 3rd place finish in your first year with Marco Rose, they'll do well to keep holding them as well next summer.
But even just to look like the best team or one of the top 2 teams in the Bundesliga at this moment in the season.
They've got this. I feel like in the Bundesliga,
Torgan
this
Hazard went in the summer as well.
Exactly, and I feel like this month in the Bundesliga is absolutely crucial. Bayern with their injuries to Sula, Hernandez, whoever can get a sort of 4 wins out of their next 5 or so, you'll be right in the mix. Set yourself up well for the Christmas break, and then smash it on in the home run.
And also, Lucien Favre and Kovac's jobs are seemingly in doubt. At least, from some quarters. We saw the front of, was it Bild?
Yes.
I want to say Bild. Questioning whether Jose Mourinho was going to take over at Dortmund. Of course, there's questions whether he would take over at Arsenal now. That's all very hilarious. And Kovac is, despite doing a really solid job there and maybe being a bit unlucky in terms of his endeavours not being reflected in the amount of points that Bayern have accumulated in the last season and a bit, he's kind of got that thing where there's a bit of a narrative forming around him now that he's not big enough for the job.
Yeah, totally.
And
it's always been the case.
Which is like a little bit weird, but it's like he's kind of like, I don't know if that's going to escape him.
Yeah, it's a strange one. Ralf Rangnick as well being linked with Bayern as well. We'll see. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. But of these 3 teams, I suppose it's a bit of a stupid question in a way. Villarreal, who do you think is more likely to over-exceed expectations?
Where's
I think
the
is
best
a better
place
question.
to retire? Villarreal.
Yeah. McCubbs, are you confident that Inter could do it this year? I think Villarreal probably best they could do is 4th, but
yeah, I mean, Inter could win. Like Juve genuinely do look weaker than they have done in a long time, and in Maurizio Sarri have a manager who generally needs a bit of time to really kind of implement his philosophy. So yeah, I think now's as good a chance as ever. Really.
Yeah, I'm also bored of Juventus winning titles by playing anti-football.
Yeah, it's really, and that group as well in their Champions League group is absolutely fascinating as well. I think it's pretty well poised. I think Dortmund and Inter are both on 4 points. Yeah. And Barcelona looked very beatable in their 2-0 victory over Slavia Prague as well. So it's all to play for.
No, it is, yeah. I mean, and like the Inter-Barca game was a fascinating tie as well. I loved that.
Loved that. So if we had to do a prediction, where do you think Inter are going to finish, McCubbs?
Yeah, I'm gonna say they're gonna do it.
Really?
I mean, that's
love it.
I like. I'm an optimist, but I've predicted it so many times. I remember saying that Napoli were going to do it, and they didn't. So
because he's still drunk.
I'm jinxing it.
Where's that lightsaber?
I know. That's
put that on the screen now. That's class. Out of context, FD this morning.
Yeah, that was
already on it.
Yeah, I was loving that. I was still like getting it out on the way home.
You were protecting the people of Hampton on the way home.
I was, yeah.
Nice.
So,
Hamill, we'll better get back on track onto the football, away from the lightsabers. Where do you think Villarreal are going to finish?
I mean, I think Europa League football would be a very good achievement for them. They've not got the biggest squad, have they? They've not got an awful lot of depth, and they are, quite reliant on Santi Cazorla just having this kind of resurgence. So yeah, given how competitive I think the top 4 or 5 could be in La Liga, should people like Sevilla be able to sustain their form? I think they drew. Did they draw last night? I think Atletico drew, and I think Sevilla drew as well, actually, with Valencia. But Campos scored again. So no one's really taken the initiative, which has kind of been an issue, hasn't it, in terms of charging, in terms of really going against the hegemony of Barca and Real. But yeah, there's probably 3 or 4 teams that are easily better than them. So 6th, 7th.
Nice, fair. I'm going to go Gladbach to spring a surprise and finish 2nd. Actually, really enjoying them so far this campaign. But yeah, guys, let us know your predictions for Inter, Villarreal, and Borussia Mönchengladbach in the comments below, and how you think those league titles are going to, turn out in the end. Thank you very much for watching. Let's go on to Big Match Preview. Sorry about that weird sign-off into Big Match Preview. That was a bit strange, but I'm glad you are still with us because we've got a big game to preview. It's Sevilla versus Atletico Madrid, Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Massive game in the context of the league, actually, because it's 5th take on 4th. They're both level on points, only separated on goal difference with Atleti above Sevilla. They're both currently only 2 points behind first place Barcelona, but the Blaugrana, Real Madrid and Granada have a game in hand. Barcelona play 10th place Levante and Real host 15th place Real Betis. So getting 3 points in this game could prove to be absolutely crucial at the end of this weekend. McCubbs, the hosts, Sevilla, what are you thinking?
I mean, yeah, I think this would be an interesting tie. I could see it being a draw, to be honest. Yeah. But yeah, they've been all right. They had a bit of a dodgy September, didn't they? They lost 2 of their 4 games in September. They're unbeaten in their last 3 now, 2 wins and a draw. So yeah, it's looking a bit better for Lopetegui's side. It's still hard to know where if they're really going to progress significantly this season.
A lot of talent, big turnover.
Yeah.
That's been Sevilla's problem, hasn't it? Like you don't know what sort of side they actually are.
Yeah, totally.
What's going on there? Having a little stretch.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it is hard to know. Like, I mean, okay, I can't profess to be an expert on Spanish football, but Lopetegui has always struck me as a manager where I just don't really know kind of what his identity is.
I mean, that's
like,
fair, because other than that stint at Porto, it's like Spain have an identity, don't they? Like, that wasn't his.
Yeah,
like,
and his spell at Real Madrid as well, but it was just clear that it was never really kind of going to work.
Kovac vibes.
Yeah, exactly. But they have generally kind of recorded quite well. I think they're third in La Liga for expected goals. I think only Real Madrid and Villarreal are topping them for that. Their defence is only conceding 8.8 shots a game. That's the 5th best in the league. So they're fine. Like they're actually fine. But then in the Valencia game, they only got 1 shot on target. That was that Ocampos goal that you were talking about. So yeah, I can see Sevilla just having a very kind of average season, to be fair.
What's average for them? They're like 6th?
Yeah, 5th, 6th. Like,
okay.
I mean, but I mean, when last season they were like top of the league, weren't they, at this time? And
machine.
And then it, they dropped off quite significantly.
Well, that's the thing. It's just it's consistency at Sevilla. Like even under Sampaoli as well. In the last like 2 or 3 years, they've played some unbelievable stuff for 6 months, and then like bottomed out, haven't they?
Not keeping enough going.
But yeah, so. Yeah, I don't know. I could personally, I see this being a draw. I mean, I think Atleti have been fairly impressive this season, actually, at least compared to others in La Liga. But
there's some of, I mean, we talked a bit about sort of the amount of players they brought in this summer. I think it's nearly 10 players, and some of them have worked out pretty well. Like a Campos from Marseille is playing very well, but Luke De Jong's had struggles to score at least. I think he's got 1 in 9, but expected goals suggest that should be closer to 5.
They've put Munas de Boer on Gumtree. I haven't even seen him. Like he's literally he's on eBay.
I tried looking for him on Who Scored. I couldn't even find him on Who Scored.
Yeah.
Like in the.
He doesn't register. He's barely played.
Sevilla contacted Who Scored and insisted he was taken off because they're embarrassed about their acquisition.
I mean, he nearly got 40 goals for RB Salzburg.
Hot last
I can't profess to being an expert on Munas de Boer, but he must have some talent. Like, you think you'd have some space from his squad, and why bring him in if you're just not going to use him at all? Very bizarre. But Chris, they take on Atleti this weekend, who are just very Atleti this year.
Yeah, I mean, you said bizarre just saying. McCummins said they've kind of been impressive, and I suppose it's been a healthy mixture of both, because they had a really good start. I think only lost 1 in their opening 11 games. Sam swatting away a fly there. I thought that might have been a technical error. Just going like that behind the scenes, just swatting away a fly. But they've also started to become a little bit, stale's probably harsh, but the games have been quite boring.
I think you could say
so. Watching extended highlights against Deportivo Alaves, where Morata had to come on. He came not to salvage the points because they scored first. And who was the guy who used to be on Arsenal's books, and they loaned him out to West Ham? Oh my God, what's his name?
Perez.
Lucas Perez scored an absolute ripper.
Oh, that was sick, yeah. Spookus Perez, that was sick.
Spookus Perez. Do you know, Oliver Burke is playing for Deportivo Alaves.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Really?
It was just like, and Burke almost scored from the corner there. I was like, what? Burke, what are you doing?
He's a well-travelled man now.
I know, yeah, really cultured Scotsman. That's what I like to see. But they've been, I mean, they're averaging, in their opening like 5-6 games, they're averaging like 6 shots a game. We were like, okay, this isn't something that will equate to like them sustaining their excellent run of form. But in place of shot quantity, their shot quality was great, wasn't it? But that was always going to be hard to sustain. So they've got marginally better in attack, so 10.2 shots a game now, but that's still 15th in the league. The last 3 results kind of bear this stat out. So 1-1 draw with Valencia, a 2-0 victory versus Bilbao, actually pretty impressive, and that draw with Alaves that we just mentioned. 7th for expected goals still though. So while I said it might be quite hard to maintain that quality of chance, they're doing an okay job of it. Only Alvaro Morata, though, has scored over 2 league goals with 3 in 8 appearances. And he's playing pretty well. He had a pretty good 6 months after joining Chelsea, didn't he? The 27-year-old, 3.6 shots, 1 key pass, 1 dribble, and expected goals and expected assist value of 1.17, so should probably have more goal contributions to his name. Only Kyle Toko Akambi, who we mentioned in the Villarreal section, has a higher XG per 90 of players who have played over 150 minutes. Angel Correa playing pretty well as well. So his ceiling's always been relatively high, but he's struggled to get minutes. That has been the case again this season. Only 356 minutes. Despite that, he has 3 assists in 7 appearances. But yeah, only João Felix and Alvaro Morata are firing off more than 2 shots. So this is quickly becoming a problem for Atletico, and it will probably derail any title bid. Their inability to generate a decent quality of shots. They are lacking a little man called Antoine Griezmann at the moment, aren't they? Pretty darn hard to replace. I actually think they might scrape it though. Should we go predictions?
Yeah, why not?
I actually think that Atletico might do it.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with 1-1.
I'm going to go 2-1 Atletico.
I'm going to go 2-0 Atleti. Sevilla have an awful recent record in this game. I think they've won 1 of their last 17 league meetings, which is pretty damning. Atleti also have quite a few injuries as well, which might go in their favour. Savic is out, João Felix is out, and Jose Jimenez is out as well. So maybe Sevilla have a little bit of hope in that, but I can only really see this being an Atleti win. 2-0, 1-1. What was yours again?
2-1.
2-1. There we have it. That's our big match preview. Let's move on to quickfire questions. Our quickfire question comes in from @ChrisMe3000, and they say, what team outside Europe's top 5 leagues has the most promising youth players? Rather than covering teams, we've just decided to cover one player that's really caught our eye so far this season from outside the top 5. The Cubs, who are you bringing to the table?
I'm going to be really just obvious here.
Vanilla.
Very vanilla. Just say Erling Haaland.
I mean, it's fair enough.
Yeah.
He deserves a mention.
Yeah, he's just a ridiculous talent, isn't he? Just yeah. I mean, I don't have any stats to hand or whatever, but wasn't it something like? Did he score like?
I think it was 20.
14 in 11 games or something?
Yeah, I think he'd hit 20 league goals by like the start of October.
Just ridiculous. And obviously super impressive in Europe as well. Obviously Salzburg themselves have been pretty. I mean, haven't got the results. Overall that they wanted, but scored how many? Was it like 7 or 8 goals in their first 2 games? Obviously, put 3 past Liverpool at Anfield. So obviously part of a very exciting team as well. Salzburg got continue to be very exciting.
He's not playing football. Yeah. I like to think he's just at home, like building a longboat.
Yeah,
just like
he does have that. Yeah,
he's like
He seems like the sort of person who. Yeah, he seems like the sort of person if he just turned his hand at anything, it would just be like.
He's a proper Viking.
Yeah, proper like chopping down trees and whatnot. He'd be a great husband. Yeah, like, I don't really know what else there is to say about him, but he just looks like someone who's just going to be if everything goes right for him and like physically he kind of maintains himself in a sensible way, like he will just be like he'll be one of the,
isn't he? And his side can't. Yeah, Zlatan didn't used to be any
It was no slouch, yeah.
But his size kind of belies his speed and his touch and his positioning as well. He's sneaky.
Looks like he's got it all. Hamel, who are you suggesting?
Who was I going for? Danielle Malin, who is scoring loads of goals at PSV. I've not watched much of him, but he was on the Golden Boy shortlist, so I'm going for him. Also, Ruben Diaz at Benfica. I don't know how the start of his season's gone, but I remember from a transfer talk that Man United and Real Madrid wanted him. So yeah, I'm going for pretty vanilla options as well. And James Forrest.
Fair.
Yeah.
Shout out James
25 mil he's worth.
You're very shy
in my eyes. It will just always be at Celtic. He's a Celtic man through and through, and that's what we have to see.
I thought at one stage he might go down to England to like a upper championship team.
I think he knows how good he's got it. I think the club are starting to appreciate him now, and like why go to a middling Premier League team when you can just play against Barca, Bayern, and St Mirren every week. So.
Yeah, shout out James Forrest, always rated him. I'm going for a player that I managed to catch live at the start of the season. Actually, my only game that I've managed to catch live so far this campaign, which is very disappointing. But Zé Luiz, he plays for Porto, he's the striker. Scored a hat-trick against Setúbal when I saw him. He was at Spartak Moscow before, and I think he's got at least 5 goals in the Liga NOS so far this campaign. So fair play to him. Nomadic career, he's about 28. I don't think he'll go any further than Porto, but fair play to him. I hadn't heard of him before the game, but he actually looked very good. I think it was pretty much a perfect hat-trick as well, which is always nice to see, very Christian Pulisic-esque. So yeah, Zay Louise, check him out. But yeah,
Christian Pulisic, the like quintessential perfect hat trick
Yeah,
scorer
exactly,
now, after one against Burnley.
Exactly. But yeah, thank you very much for watching Continental Club for another week. Let us know what you guys thought of our opinions in the comments below and what you want us to see cover next week on next week's Continental Club, which I won't actually be here for, because I'm on a stag in Lisbon.
So that means I'll be presenting that.
You'll be
But
presenting. But guys, what should the good people go and do now?
They should go to
Cubs.
Football Daily because
Yes.
a new series has just launched, Journeyman, which is essentially the kind of non-league vlogs 2.0, not specifically
Sexier,
just at
though,
non-league
and
teams. There, ironically, we do actually go to a non-league team for our first episode, but that's not going to be the norm. And yeah, we went to Notts County. Pretty amazing story there. So yeah, go check that out.
Nice, well worth watching. Hannah, anything
Yeah,
from you?
just do that.
Yeah, go check that out.
Specifically that.
Watch all our content, subscribe to all our channels, and we'll see you next time. Bye.